Did you realize that we know who these people were prior to being transformed? The first one is the lady from the movie kiosk who went on a lunch break, hence her saying lunchbox, and the second is the maintenance person, which is confirmed by an unattended cleaning cart outside the auditorium and them saying good detergent. After watching the whole season at 0.25 speed, I noticed a lot of things ranging from just neat and funny to downright spine-chilling, like when Junpei inadvertently gave Mahito the idea to end his mom. Hello comrade, my name is Mahis. Come, get yourself a beverage and sit down with me. We got many frames to go over. Doing this in a chronological order, we start with the sound effects from the first minute of episode 1. That's a parry sound effect from Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne respectively. Halfway through, we see the nurse's hand for a split second, someone's elevated temperature and proper measurements, and blood pressure. Very fitting for a hospital worker. At 1746, Fushiguro uses a cursed energy projectile, a basic application of Jujutsu as explained by Gojo, who also used it in episode 2, thus slowly introducing the viewer to simple attacks before getting into complicated curse techniques. Back to this fight, if we go frame by frame, we see Demon Dog saving Yuji's friend from the falling debris. Funny enough, they too use the most stock standard wolf noises that I've been hearing for 20 years plus. At the end of the episode, Megumi was about to summon Maharaga, which he does 3 more times in episode 4, 19 and 23 until he learns the lesson of not giving up and fighting balls blazing instead. Great character development. Next we jump to the conclusion of the second episode, which has a mild example of a Chekhov's gun, a poster of someone resembling Jennifer Lawrence, which comes up several times throughout the series, during the meeting with Masamichi Yaga, the total shenanigans, and even during Nobara and Fushiguro's conversation in the cafe. Also, Sasaki, the girl who unsealed Sukuna's finger, is wearing different glasses because the other ones were destroyed. When it comes to watching an anime frame by frame, the crowds are my personal favorite. In this show, nothing too interesting before Shibuya, yet it's nice to see people looking authentic with Asian haircuts, occasional masks, and then there is 2010's Justin Bieber just chilling there. If that one is debatable, you can't convince me that this is not Biza from Hunter x Hunter. Their appearance is almost identical, and he's even on a lookout for pretty women for objectifying purposes. It's not the only inspiration I noticed in this episode. Mike and Sully's secret relationship aside, the Roppongi curse uses the boy as a shield in a matter I definitely saw somewhere. Can't quite put my finger on it, hehe. It's not exactly the Hound from Ruby, which is close, so if you can think of any, help me out cause I'm losing my shit over it. There is an error in the scene actually. Nobara says this curse isn't even all that strong, grade 4 may be even lower, like a low grade 3, which is backwards as grade 4 is supposed to be weaker than grade 3. At 1619, she also describes Saori with she was as cute as a doll, which is probably why we see a doll's head later, symbolizing her destruction by the locals. The next episode has another reference or just an animation decision that I've seen in a different show. When Yuji hits the finger bearer, he's drawn similarly to Zenitsu. Then there is Toro doing the same thing in episode 8, so it must be a way to showcase power or speed or something. Although Yuji does copy Gon's Jajanken pose, so who knows. At 1808, there is a slight animation error. Watch the right arm. No way he regenerated it that fast. On to our first bit of serious foreshadowing, Kenjaku claiming that Yuji didn't die. He sounds too confident, and that smile at the end clearly indicates that he knows something that neither we nor other characters can even imagine at this point in time. Episode 6 opens up with yet another Bloodborne sound effect. Can't find the exact one, but I know it's there since I finished the game like a dozen times. And a completely random observation. How does nobody find it weird that a monk is just sitting there talking to himself? He's obviously being watched by the staff because he hasn't ordered, so why is nobody saying anything? He looks too out of place, and people around would certainly give him a glance or two, potentially exposing him. Like, the dude who ran away would have been questioned by the police 100%, and he could have said something along the lines of, "Guys, there was a religious man sitting there muttering to himself right before the place went up in flames. Here's his description." Why not use a Bluetooth mono headset for a better disguise? It was a thing already, and anyone dealing with curses should have been wearing it to seem less suspicious. At 1841, we get another piece of foreshadowing or setup. Panda says that some sorcerers use cursed spirits to store their weapons, which is exactly what Geto and Toji were shown to do later in the story. Episode 7 starts off with one more funny sound effect, which to me sounds like a slightly edited generic car alarm sound. Later during the fight with Jogo, there is an animation continuity error. Gojo moves his blindfold down, then it's back to where it was, and here it is pulled down again. Another mistake is just a minute later. Look at his hand, a pinky can't extend that far, which makes it look like he has 6 fingers. The next episode is where we start having a very specific animation issue, Maki's Revolver, which is actually a Smith & Wesson Model 629 and not Python as stated on the wiki. It's almost never drawn properly. Here, the cartridges are too visible, then it's a wrong drawn position, which is fixed 10 seconds later and goes back to being wrong again. Hell, I'll just rapid fire these because it's a continuous mistake throughout the season. Episode 15, it doesn't revolve while firing, but at least she shot it exactly 6 times. Episode 17, revolver drum is in the proper position surprisingly, and even has a hit mark on the bullet casing from the hammer igniting the gunpowder inside. Next frame it's all fucked up again, and a minute later we even get some gravity-defying single cartridge ejection. If this was a real revolver, all cartridges would have fallen out simultaneously. Wrong position again, loading the cartridge you just removed, nice, but they're already hammered for some reason, the new one should not have a mark in the middle, then a wrong position again, the drum doesn't rotate while shooting, wrong position again and again. This is good though, Mai throws away a quick reload drum, same as this from before. Wrong position again, she actually hits the stick Maki through, correct position for once, wrong again and again. And lastly, a correct drum position. Interestingly enough, no such issue in the manga. Gege did really well drawing her gun properly. In episode 9, we get introduced to one of JJK's most tragic characters, Junpei, and if you pay attention, even the lighting here does some neat storytelling. His eyes do that too. Bangs always obscure the right one until he gets a talk no jutsu from Itadori, symbolizing him opening up and getting ready to change. We also see the bullies holding a cigarette which was likely used to scar him, although the grip doesn't make much sense neither for smoking nor for burning. And while we're in the topic of smoking, look at this extra bit of animation. Totally unnecessary, but adds just a little bit more realism. At 10:22, I was checking where the hell did they get the umbrellas from, as they weren't carrying any before, and I learned that there are free umbrellas in most Japanese public buildings in case of a rainy day. However, I'm not sure if they will be located at the roof exit, so the question still stands. Whose ass did they pull these umbrellas from? Also, is this a Haikyuu reference, number 10 and all? Just a few minutes later, Yuji literally hits a home run. Not sure if that means anything, just a funny consistency with his character. Next, I want to point out something very unsettling. In episode 10, Junpei unknowingly gave Mahito the idea to kill his mom. He said, "If this was my mother's corpse, I might lose control and end up hating you," which is exactly what happened, only to his school bully who got framed for the murder, resulting in our boy Yoshino crossing to the dark side. In case you're wondering how strong Nanami is, this relatively casual punch caused a magnitude 2 earthquake as per show's admission. Mahito still brushed it off, no biggie, yet he did suffer damage to his outfit, which made him ask Geto for spares. Not getting any, and having some standards of not wanting to swing a schlong around, he changes his own design to have a built-in censorship for future encounters. Back to doom and gloom, Junpei tells the teacher to stand there and watch, likely as an insult, since that's all he ever did instead of helping him with the bullies. Itadori also said something interesting, "I will kill you, not exercise you. Kill you," because his beef with Mahito just got personal. Very subtle character development as he starts to doubt his own ideals and morals. Skipping a few episodes for lack of anything interesting, we get to number 16. It has some majestic water and another foreshadowing. Mekamaru outright says it. "If I could trade my curse techniques to have a normal body, I'd gladly do so." No other student has this exploitable weakness that will make him a traitor, so looking back, it should have been fairly obvious considering that's Mahito's bread and butter. At 1435, we get Panda showcasing his drumming beat, and if you know little about gorillas, this looks pretty cool, but once you hear what it truly sounds like, you can't go back. You're welcome. Further into the fight, Mekamaru pumps a roof tile to use as a distraction, and you can actually see him carrying it around for a few seconds before launching it at his monochromatic adversary. Just before the episode wraps up during a Juju stroll, we get a minor spoiler. Noritoshi has his eye open with a weird marking, telling us that there is some hidden power we haven't seen yet. Another cool animation sequence includes two of the story's best girls, Maki disarming Miwa. If slowed down, you can see every step of the process quite clearly. At 5:02, we see the talismans that track which team exercised which curse. One is already burned because Todo punched this curse during his scramble with Yuji. Following that, we get the backstory of the Zenin twins. It's a bit vague, so let me clarify why Mai called Maki a liar and has this animosity towards her. Maki promised to stay together with her forever, and some years after broke this promise, hurting her sister mentally and subjecting her to even worse treatment within the clan. But there is a different question I have. How in the name of Miwa's smiling cheeks does a family with such a white stick up their ass allow cursed spirits anywhere near their home? Sure, they have a basement where they're all contained, but to let curses exist next to their kids is not just stupid, it's a disgrace because you guys can't even keep your front yard clean from the very forces you are fighting. Episode 18 opens up with an action scene that has me conflicted about their attention to detail. On one hand, Kamo initially shoots 3 arrows at once, cause that's the maximum you can reasonably hold, and quickly follows up with another one off screen, making it 4 total. No complaints here. Yet if you look at his quiver, he clearly has 3 more arrows, which can't be right, since after deflecting 4, Megumi notices that Noritoshi is on his last one. A few minutes later, we see Togi putting Miwa to sleep by calling her from Mekamaru's phone. How did he get it? Did the demon dog bring it along with the puppet's arm, or was it Panda who specifically asked Kokichi for his phone before he left him on the rooftops? Why did he grab the arm then? I honestly have no clue, so I'm open to suggestions. Episode 19 continues the fight against Hanami, where Maki says it feels disgusting to use this weapon, referring to Playful Cloud. Totally understandable considering what its previous holder did last year, although Geto didn't use it against her directly. It's also quite expensive. 5 billion yen is about 30 million USD. During the showdown in the river, there are 2 cool pieces of animation, using the answer the phone defense against a choking attempt and Todo being shown to rescue Maki if we slow it down a bit. At 1821, I thought they were using water assets from episode 16. Nope, it's similar but not the same. And yes, in case you're wondering, I do have a thing for water and particles. For example, this scene from Demon Slayer pleased my eyes to no end. Next we have another topic I'm somewhat interested in, electric guitars. Principal Gakuganji is rocking a Gibson Custom 1967 Mahogany Flying V, and the issue here is the animation continuity. Watch the frets and fret markers. They change mid-scenes and are wrong sometimes. Then we see Gojo using his torsion skill he demonstrated to Yuji while explaining curse techniques. When Mahito leaves with the spoils, there are 2 dead guards Kenny mentioned and a Sukuna's finger, which was the one used in Junpei's apartment. This piece of cloth, or seal, is what helped curses to locate it, as Mr. Big Brain placed Mahito's cursed energy on it so that he can use it as a quest marker. Another mystery I'm yet to understand is what the hell is a natural spirit? Patchface makes a clear distinction between them and cursed spirits, so there must be something here. This conversation between Yuji and Kamo made me chuckle a bit, especially after watching later seasons. His mom gave this whole spiel about saving others and being good, but she's the one who named him after the most vile sorcerer to ever live, setting his life difficulty level to at least a hard. On a lighter note, Itadori asked if he needed a helmet, which was a valid concern since Todo got his entire face caved in by a stray and totally unintentional serve. At 20:02, we see past Geto without the scar, which is a soft foreshadowing of something being wrong with the current one. Episode 22 officially introduces the Tsumiki plotline. At first I was confused with what exactly was going on here, and to put it simply, she has 2 curses on her. First is the one from the bridge where the angry Diglett resides, and the second is from Kenjaku preparing her for the calling games. Two completely independent curses. What an unlucky girl. By the way, I like how Fushiguro made a face while reading the victim's files, mentally preparing to endure whatever these guys will say after learning about his school days. Which honestly should have landed him in prison, as half of these guys would have been crushed or suffocated to death. Back to the horrendous shit JJK pulls off every once in a while. The dude, who was about to be death painted, kept looking at Kenjaku standing in the doorway and not Mahito. He couldn't see him, so one can only imagine the absolute terror he experienced of not only being strung up like this, but also having something invisible forcing its way into him xenomorph style. Aha! They are reusing assets a little bit. The pummeling Yuji unleashed on Kechizu is almost identical to his assault on Mahito, minus facial expressions. They still reanimated the whole scene, but it's clear that the template used was the same. In the aftermath of this fight, we have a pair of interesting dialogues that are very important for character development. Both Yuji and Fushiguro know that it was eating the finger in the first episode that jump-started all these events, and both don't want the other to come to this conclusion because it will make them regret their actions and feel responsible for so much death. Before the season wraps up, we get the last juicy piece of foreshadowing. The OG Noritoshi's face is not fully shown to obscure the forehead, and listen to who provides his lore.
兄さん、こいつら大したことないよ。
明治の初め、呪霊の子をはらむ得意体質の娘がいた。
Not Eso who brought it up, but Geto for some reason. This guy knew about RMC being alive, and now he's narrating a story of a disgraced sorcerer from 2 centuries ago. Sus AF. Iwazai, Mahi is having too much free time into the microphone. Have a great whatever time of the day you have. Until next time, cheers. Poster of someone resembling Jennifer Rollins. Jennifer Rollins. Блять, ёбаный рот.